Welcome back. My name is Dr. Baird, and today I'll be showing you some of the best kettlebell exercises that you can use to help limit the impact that goes through your spine for less lower back pain. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the exercises. One of the best uses of a kettlebell is to simply add resistance to a lot of the traditional lower back exercises that you might already know or do, which is why the first exercise I'll show you is the Kettlebell Dead Bug. So the Dead Bug exercise is a great beginning core strengthening exercise that teaches you how to maintain a good spinal position and pelvic position as you move through dynamic movements. So to perform the kettlebell variation, we're going to take our kettlebell and we can hold it with our hands on each side, the handle pointing downward. My arms are straight right above my shoulders, and I'll get into that 90-90 dead bug position, meaning my hips are flexed to 90 and my knees are flexed to 90. And from there, all I'm going to do is drop one heel, tap, come back to the starting position, and tap. And so the goal is when you're performing the dead bug that you're maintaining a good spinal position, not letting your lower back arch up off the back. And by holding the kettlebell right in front of you, you're forcing your core musculature to engage, which is going to help protect your spine and lead to less lower back pain. So building strong glute and hamstrings is one of the primary goals in building strength to solve lower back pain. And so we can use the kettlebell in an exercise like the glute bridge, which is an effective and most importantly, safe exercise that targets these muscles while limiting impact on your spine. So to perform this movement, we'll get into our glute bridge position, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. And then I'm going to take my kettlebell and I want to put it right over my hips. So we don't want it on my stomach like this. I want it right on my hips, kind of like that pubic bone area. And from there, I can perform that same glute bridge, pressing through my feet and coming to the top, coming back down. And so again, all this is doing is adding resistance to the glute bridge so that you can continue to build strength in your glutes and hamstrings for less impact on your spine and less lower back pain as you get older. The Romanian deadlift is another great exercise for lower back pain that teaches us how to maintain a neutral spine as we bend forward, and it also targets our glutes and hamstrings, which as we know is also important for solving lower back pain. You can perform this movement with a barbell or a kettlebell. So if we're doing the kettlebell Romanian deadlift, I'm going to grab my weight and just hold it right in front of my body. So my arms are relaxed. And from there, I'm going to perform the hip hinge movement where I send my hips back, allow the weight to essentially pull me down, making sure I maintain that neutral spine, stopping when I feel tension in the hamstrings and coming back up. So the main thing, especially if you have lower back pain, you have to be very careful that you maintain that neutral spine and that as you're performing this, you're sending your hips back and not going too low where you start to round at the lower back, which can increase impact at the lower spine, which is what we want to avoid. The deadlift is another important movement that can help limit impact at your lower back by improving core strength, targeting your glute and hamstrings, and improving movement patterns so that you can actually lift things from the ground without injuring your lower back. So again, this is performed with a barbell or a kettlebell. So with this one, I start with my kettlebell on the ground. I start with my feet on the outside of the kettlebell. So don't start too far back. Feet right on the outside. I'm going to start with that hip hinge where I send my hips back. Once I can't go any lower without losing my spinal position, I'm going to bend my knees to drop my hips. From there, I'm going to press through the ground to lift that weight straight up and set it down the same way. Hinge, bend the knees, press up, hinge, bend the knees. And that's kettlebell deadlift. Loaded carries are easily one of the best functional core exercises for lower back pain. And all that means is we lift something heavy and carry it around. So if you only have one kettlebell, we can do an exercise called the Suitcase Carry, where I hold the weight at one side. Now before I get started, I want to put a light grip on the weight. That's going to create tension up the arm. I want to roll my shoulders back, brace at the abs, and then all we're going to do is walk forward. And so the main thing that you're watching for is that you're not overcompensating, so you're leaning one direction to help lift the weight. You want a nice straight trunk, and that as you walk, you're not going side to side. You're keeping a nice straight trunk, nice strong position as you walk forward. Obviously do both sides. If you have access to two kettlebells that are the same weight, you can perform a farmer's carry where you hold both and perform the same thing. Both great exercises. Give those a try. Let me know how it goes. And finally, we have our squat movement. So the squat is another full body strengthening exercise that we use to limit impact on our joints. By adding a kettlebell to it or holding a kettlebell right in front, we force our core to engage to further protect our spine while practicing this important movement pattern and building strength in the glute and hamstrings. So to perform this exercise, you can hold the kettlebell right at chest level as close to your body as possible. And from there, you're going to perform a squat. So if we're dealing with lower back pain, I'm going to unlock at the hips, then drop my hips down, stopping when my thighs get about parallel with the ground and coming back up. The goblet squat is a great way to build strength without stressing your lower back. So there you have it, 6 of the best kettlebell exercises to help solve lower back pain. Now, as I said before, the kettlebell, one of the best healthcare tools that we have available. So if you are an adult who's worried about their joint pain getting worse as they get older or limiting the activities that you're able to do as you get older, I highly suggest that you have access to a kettlebell, whether you buy one or you have access to a gym that has one. So that's all I got for you today. Again, my name is Dr. Baird. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.